Alright, we are here. We're about to go in.
TK421.
Hello and welcome to the Dads of Adventure podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the continued reopening of Walt Disney World. Parks have been open for a little bit now with the Park Pass system. This was our first chance to go to Hollywood Studios, so we'll talk a little bit more about that today. First of all, just want to let you know where you can find us. Go to dadsofadventure.com where you can get signed up for the newsletter. You can also get signed up for our membership and great things where you can talk to other Disney dads, positive Disney dads who want to have positive life and Disney adventures with their families. So come join us there. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you be part of the discussion. So you can find that membership, it helps support the podcast and the mission of Dads of Adventure as well. So please check that out, and we'd love for you to join us there. You can also find us at Dads of Adventure on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you're listening to this podcast, you can also find that in video format on YouTube via the DreamsMagicAdventure channel. And you can also, if you're watching this on YouTube, please, subscribe so that you can check out our other videos. We have, the podcast in video format, but we also have other videos on travel and Disney and other related items as well. So all of our life adventures on there, and it's a great place to also find other little videos of my boys and some of our experiences as well. So you can find all that there. Again, please subscribe. Subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast app. And please, rate and review us there. That is always helpful in terms of, making sure that people know about the podcast and, getting the mission out to more people. So we appreciate that. And today we'll get to our topic. So again, Dads of Adventure is all about helping dads to have positive life and Disney adventures with their family. So we, had a wonderfully positive adventure here, and I'm getting to know more dads as we go here and connecting with them. So I'm looking forward to connecting with you. So again, check out that membership. But getting to the topic of the day, Hollywood Studios. So of the reopening procedures, again, you need, right now as we're recording this, you need a park pass in order to be able to go to the parks. Even if you're an annual pass holder, you can't just show up. You can't do park hopping. You have to pick one park per day, and there are limited passes to help control capacity at the parks. I'm sure there's I think phase plans, so there may be more and more people getting passes as they see how their procedures are working, see how crowd flow is and things like that. But for the most part, still today crowd flow is pretty low. So it's I think it's a great time to be at the parks. There are social distancing measures in place, in the queues and all over the parks. getting into the parks, all of those things, temperature checks, making sure that everybody has the opportunity to be safe and healthy. There's hand sanitizer all over the place, encouragements for people to, reminders for people to wash their hands, and everybody is still required to have a mask. There are some new Disney masks that just came out this week right after we went to the park on a Tuesday, and I think they came out on Wednesday with some for like Haunted Mansion wallpaper themed, and I don't remember them all, but there was one related to the Tiki Room, which I really liked the look of. Those masks, just if you're ordering those online, I don't know if you can order those online or not, but or if you're getting them in the parks, they do run a little bit small. So the adult large is not quite large enough for me, and I think a good portion of adults, my kids are wearing the mediums, and they're 5 and 6, so if that gives you an idea of some of the sizing there. I believe they are getting some extra larges, but I haven't seen those yet. I haven't seen those around the parks as we've been going around. So so bring your mask. If you want to get Disney masks, they are there and available. There's also great, at different shops that are selling those Disney themed masks. So I definitely recommend checking those out. I'll try to post information about the mask that I had, because I got a new Disney mask for this trip. That was had a pass holder print on it. And my wife Mackenzie had a one that was like Mickey balloons. And I believe she got an orange bird one as well from that same provider. So those were great. They were a little bit lighter, so it was a little bit easier to breathe with those, and then they fit. They had the way that the fabric expanded, they fit a little bit better too. So that was great as well. So we'll go ahead and get in the parks and just tell you what those procedures look like. I think I mentioned this in other reopening podcasts, but again, they are doing parking procedures. They seem to be doing those a little bit differently each time. But what they did at Hollywood Studios when we were there, so I can't guarantee it's going to be similar, is they were parking every other row, but they were going ahead and parking front and back immediately, which that leads to kind of one of the things that I've mentioned in videos and being prepared for a positive experience is if you're a stroller toting dad who has a stroller in the back of the car that needs to come out, normal parking procedures previously were that they would park the first part of the row, and then you had about 10 minutes or so before they got to the end of the row and then started parking the back spot. So if you're in that front spot, you had a limited amount of time to get your stroller out and anything out of the back of your car before they start bringing somebody around, and a cast member will remind you that somebody's going to be pulling in behind you, so they need you to move up to the front of your vehicle for safety purposes. So I'm all about being prepared, getting everything out, and then moving everything to the front of the vehicle, and then I can unload the rest of my vehicle and such after that. So that helps me be prepared and have a positive experience, because I'm doing that ahead of time instead of getting stuck on the other side. But what they were doing this time is they were parking every other row, which is great because my stroller doesn't fit between cars very well. But the other part of that is they were parking it, the front and back immediately. So the person, I was in the front, so the person behind me was nice enough to kind of move back, which was to their benefit, so that while I was getting my stroller out, it didn't do anything to their car. But so it just takes a little understanding, asking people nicely, and sometimes that can be a high tension situation when you don't really expect it. That is something to take into account. Another quick thing to take into account, we are pass holders, and as you're coming in, the parking procedures have been a little bit different each time, but they may take your magic band like in their hand. So for some people that might be a problem, or your pass card, whatever that is. And for pass holders, you still need to show ID. So make sure you bring that and have that handy, on your dashboard or in your cup holder or whatever, so you don't have to go digging in your pocket for that or your purse. So you have that ready. Start before you even get heading towards Disney if you're driving there. And if you're on property, you don't have to worry about that because it's on your magic band. But and they will also check sometimes to see if you have a park pass to make sure that you can go in as well. So that's another thing they're checking. So just keep that in mind. But they did take like our magic band to scan it in their hand, which for some people, and the social distancing and so bring some have some hand sanitizer ready if you need to sanitize your band after that, because there are a lot of cars coming through there. Just depends on where you are and everything. I'm not judging one way or the other or making any statements about that, but just mentioning that is a thing. So that is getting into the park. We were coming in, and parking is great right now because there is there's less people, so you can park a little bit closer to the park. You don't have to get there extremely early. So the park opened at 10. We probably got there around 10:30 or so by the time we were heading into the park. So it really wasn't that bad. It's important to note that the trams are still not running, so you do need to prepare for that, as that is part of your normal experience. In Hollywood Studios, that's not really a problem because by the the amount of time you would take to get to the tram, especially if you had a stroller, like we're loading it on the tram, you'll be at the front of the tram anyway. But for other parks where they are parking a little bit farther out sometimes, and leaving a little bit more room for like preferred parking and things like that, that may be a problem for some folks. So just, bear that in mind and be prepared for it. So when we were walking in, the security procedures are a little bit different right now. And you may hear my cat here. But security procedures are a little bit different. They are, just going in. They have implemented some new technologies, which is great. They have implemented technologies where it's scanning your bag as you go. And they are, I think, figuring this out a little bit as they go. This was my first time at Hollywood Studios, and it's been a lot of the other different places. They don't have it like site-wide yet at Walt Disney World, but like at the park entrances seems to be there. Some of the, like if you're coming in on a boat or coming from a resort on the monorail, it seems like they still have just normal bag check procedures. But for the most part, you're able to keep your bag. They have been asking you to take like anything metal or whatnot out of your bag, like a charger, like a fuel rod if you have one of those, and things like that. One of the things we definitely have to take out is our SLR camera. So that does set it off and create an extra bag check if we don't take that out ahead of time. So they have like monitors that they're scanning, kind of like an airport. So as long as you go through with most of the things, it's a lot easier procedure, and people aren't having to handle your bags near as much. They will still like check strollers, like the front top canopy of like a stroller. You have to have that, go ahead and have that open. if you have bottom part of your stroller, try to like arrange things or even not have anything in the bottom yet, because they will check that and they'll ask you to take some of that stuff out. If there's layers where they need to see below that. If you have a popcorn bucket, have the lid off. That helps them to not have to touch, your popcorn bucket. So, just some things to keep in mind. Again, there's temperature checks before that as you're coming in. And then, if there is an extra bag scan, they do, take you off to the side so you're not like in the way and everything. One thing that was different that I've never really had to do previously, so something to keep in mind and be prepared for, so you're not frustrated with it, is normally we'll keep our boys in the stroller until we get inside the gate. But this was the first time ever that we've been asked to have the boys get out and walk through the scanner itself. Normally you can push the stroller to the side and, one parent goes through and then other parent picks up the stroller and off you go. But that was not the case this time. So they did ask them to get out and walk through. So if that's a problem, you just need to keep that in mind and like prepare your kids for that. If that is, normally our kids are like settled in there and they know, we're not getting out until we at least get past the gates. So that helps with things. But so I don't know if that's a thing that's going to continue, but just something to be prepared for and be ready for. Anyway, so moving past security, got in the gates. Again, no fingerprints needed at the moment. So that's great. Helps keep the flow of people going quickly. Still have, kids' passes and things like that out and ready. We scan those pretty quickly. And then, getting in, there's, a number of things that are going on in the parks here that, are helping with, just kind of creating energy and excitement and magic in the parks. Those cavalcades throughout the day. So the Disney Junior Cavalcade is one of those, and it has like, so that was one of the first things we saw after we, went to the bathrooms once we got there, and then we headed up in the main area, and as we were getting our first bucket of popcorn, we at the popcorn stand that's right there as you walk into Hollywood Studios, which is, I think, is definitely the best popcorn stand. And there's like 3 ones that look identical, but that is the best popcorn stand, I believe, in Hollywood Studios and possibly all of Walt Disney World. So just noting that is one of our favorite popcorn stands. But as we were getting popcorn, the Disney Junior Cavalcade came through, and it had Fancy Nancy, Doc McStuffins, and Vampirina. Fancy Nancy was actually like, walking around, and there's pumping music that as you got closer to the park, it got louder there, and my boys love they don't watch like Doc McStuffins and Fancy Nancy as much, although they do like those. But definitely Vampirina. They really love that show, and we're really excited to see Vampirina on the cars. They have them like on Chevy Camaros that are like modified for the theme of that character. So those are pretty cool. But again, creates great energy in the park. Hollywood Studios hasn't really had like a parade or anything like that in a while. I do miss the citizens of Hollywood because they're not there right now, but hopefully they will be back at some point. But this does, infuse, again, some energy into the park. We did miss the other cavalcades, but there's other ones for like Pixar characters and The Incredibles and things like that. So be sure to be on the lookout for those. They don't really publish the times, which I think is good because crowds don't gather for those. It's just kind of like they move through the park, and as you see them, you see them, and I think that's almost better than waiting for the parade. But it does make it where you may not be in like a perfect position to see them or videotape them, so be on the lookout for those, but they're fun. So the first thing we did after that, and I'm going to mention my shirt before I forget. So this was a new shirt that I wore into the park, and I got several comments from folks who are involved with adoption in some way, whether that was themselves or siblings or otherwise. So this Adoption is Love shirt, I love it. It is like super comfy, great for the parks, has like a good material blend to it. And this is from Funding Love. So I can't like really turn around right now to show you, but on the back it says #Funding Love. So you can find them on Instagram and check out, get a shirt of your own, because that was great. So if I haven't mentioned it, if you haven't listened to some of my other episodes, my two sons are adopted, so we definitely support adoption and in its many formats and foster care and all sorts of things like that. So that is definitely an aspect of our lives and a perspective that I'm coming from as a dad and Disney dad. So that was great. I definitely recommend them. Probably talk about some of that type stuff a little bit more, but if you go to Funding Love, what they the cause that they have is helping to fund Disney trips for adoptive families. So to quickly explain that without going into too much detail there, because again, I would love to have a whole episode about this, but we see Disney as kind of a place of rest for us. When we were first adopting, and even and up to today, just going to a Disney park, even in what some people see as chaos, is restful and peaceful for us. We get to shut out the rest of the world and just be a family. So as far as like bonding after adoption process, that's something that's sometimes hard to do with all the different things that are going on in life. So going to Disney really helped us do that, and that is the whole point of Funding Love, is to help other families who may not be able to afford that Disney vacation to be able to go there and have that experience as well. So great organization. Again, Funding Love on Instagram, so check them out there, #Funding Love, and you can check out everything that they're doing and follow them there. But again, got great compliments on my shirt. Love the shirt. You should get one yourself. So that is, and I am not an affiliate, so but goes towards a great cause. So getting back to kind of what we were doing through the parks, we went to the first thing we did was go to Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. So right now, it's in the Chinese theater, and there's queue within the theater itself. But for social distancing purposes, they have laid out a queue that kind of wraps around the front of the theater and all over to the side. So that's kind of roped off and everything. But I will note that it is a lot out in the sun. So there's different shade spots. So it's definitely like watching people like trying to get to the shade pieces there strategically. And that was definitely very important because it was very hot. So the queue went like up and down in terms of the amount of wait time. So like we were at probably the back of the queue, but we wanted to try to get that in early in case in case there was a lot of people there. We probably could have gone and done it later, but I've seen, other folks where that queue has gotten bigger during the day. So it just depends on the day, what's happening there. So so for us, it went up to like 70 minutes. It was at 110 minutes at one point. And then it was like 45 minutes by the time we actually enter the theater, and, gotten that part of the queue. There are fans, so you're kind of like wishing to get through to the part of the fans. Then you go out of a fanned area for a little bit. Those big like circulating fans that are above that I think are a part of like old school theme park attractions. Wish there were more sometimes than some of the outdoor attractions, but those were helpful for sure. So you're in the covered portion, then you come out of the covered portion, then you eventually get into the theater. But yeah, like 45 minutes was what was listed there, and that was accurate for us starting from the back. But it just depends, because they do make sure that the rides are safe by sanitizing the rides vehicles throughout the day. And part of that was when we went in there, they also had like things on the floor that showed you like a part that you're not supposed to be in, so that way there could be 6 feet of distance there. So they did a pretty good job with it. You got to kind of pay attention to the lines, because it's not necessarily like every 6 feet. There are some portions where like if you're turning a corner, you would be too close to somebody, so they there may be like a large distance. So if like the turn is here, here and here are the lines, and there's not one here, because then you'd be too close to this person here. So keep that in mind. But they are sanitizing the ride vehicles, so there will be times when it'll like seem like nothing's moving, and that's just because they are going through and sanitizing all the vehicles at once, and then they start things back up again. So that can take a little bit of time, but again, be prepared for it, be patient, and you'll be good. I love that attraction. I really loved great movie ride. So, but love this one too. So it's I'm torn on the things, but I am glad of what they have done there. There's lots of like little hidden things to look for. I won't give away like the ride itself, but I do think it's a cool experience that they put together in Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. I think that got the whole name right. But anyway, so after that, we were a little tired because of waiting out in the sun. So we decided to check out one of the relaxation stations. And I think I just changed the area of events. That is when we went and got popcorn. That is when we saw the Cavalcade come through. And then we went over to the Launch Bay Relaxation Station. So right now, the Launch Bay, there's not character greets over there. And it is just set up as a relaxation station. So they have, socially distanced areas. They put additional like benches, seating in there, and they're coming around and kind of monitoring that. But it is, kind of quiet in there. And, it's great. Like you're, sitting across from like some of the Star Wars memorabilia and things like that. So it's kind of a neat place to sit and rest, because you can kind of take a look at that stuff while you're there, and good air conditioning as well. If you're a parent that's trying to get a kid to take a nap, it might be a good place as well, because it's not, while it's well lit, there are some areas where it's a little bit less lighting, so maybe a good spot there. So that was that. We sat there, just we got slushies. So the PVs, I forget what the whole thing is called, but it is. But they have slushies. It's behind, like if you're going into Hollywood Studios in the main street, It's behind those on the left. It's behind those. So sometimes it gets missed because it's not open as much. But it is themed to The Rocketeer, which has become one of my new favorite movies because it really, looks like old Hollywood studios. And I don't recommend it for kids at all because it has a lot of like 90s gangster violence and stuff like that. But it is a cool. I do like the movie itself. The score of the movie is awesome, and you might see some special artifacts there from the Rocketeer as you are getting your slushy type treat. So we had some slushies because it was very hot. So we took those in the lunch bay. We had our popcorn. We just took a rest, had a snack, and then we went back out. And we weren't really planning this, but we noticed that the Disney Junior Dance Party was open. So we headed over there, and they took us in around the back. If you miss like the initial opening, depending on how far into the show they are, sometimes they will allow you to go back in the back. So just always ask. Be prepared to not be able to go in there, but you can always ask. And so they had like little dots where kids could stand, and it was really cool. Like kids were pretty good at standing on their dots. Like my son was one of my sons is very meticulous about following procedures, so he was like on his dot. But there was plenty of room in there. There was extra room, so kids could wander around a little bit too. Mask on still, of course, but and the relaxation areas, I forgot to mention, you can take your masks off there, because that's the whole point. But so we went in there. It was kind of an abbreviated version of the show, I think, but it had a little bit different theme than what I remembered, but it was good. I liked it. Some of the characters are up on stage. It was interesting because it was, the DJ's like, getting everybody pumped up, and one of the things was like way to social distance, guys. So sign of the times there. It is part of the show there. Talked about staying on their dots as well, but there's still lots of fun and energy in that. So that was a good experience, and also in the air conditioning. And after that, we went to Tower of Terror. So it wasn't too long of a wait. There was a little bit of a wait. It was a little bit more than. It's hard to tell because of the social distancing and everybody spreading out. But we kind of went up to like where you're like right outside the building, and you're going through and kind of look up, and the Tower of Terror is like above you. So that's where we were. It probably took 15 to 20 minutes to get in there and get on the attraction. And it may have seemed a little bit longer for us because our our boys are kind of torn on whether they like it or not. It's a little bit extreme one way or the other. So there's definitely a lot of times they'll say they like and don't like an attraction, and then when they go on it, it's great. So we try to give them that extra encouragement to go ahead and get on things they say they may not like, because they may like them before, and this was one that they liked in the past. Both of them were tall enough at this point, so instead of having to wait with one parent and another, it's great to be able to go on something with the family. I think the result of this one was that they didn't like it overall, but it was good to go as a family, and we did have that experience. Probably interesting photos as well. So we'll see if those show up on our pass. That is another thing to be kind of patient about. If you are, if you do have an annual pass, you have the Memory Maker, I think is what it's called, where you get your PhotoPass downloads for free. If you've purchased that, it is running slow right now. So it was like almost a week after we went to the parks that we got some of our photos, and some of them we did not get. So I've been doing like extra, like scanning. A lot of the photos are done by the RFID in your Magic Band right now. So you don't necessarily have to scan your band at the end to get the photo. But I've been scanning my band just as a kind of a backup in case that would be helpful in making sure that we get the photos a little quicker. I don't know if that's a thing, if that works, if that's helpful, but that's what I've been doing. So make sure you scan the right one, because there's little lines that go up to the different pictures when you look at the pictures afterward, and sometimes you might accidentally scan the wrong one. Our boys definitely scan some, so we get other people's pictures sometimes. So it's interesting, like, oh, look what we got today. But anyway, so after that, we were hungry and ready to get some food. So we kind of did 2 parts. And right now, everything is on like mobile order. You have to mobile order your food, and you show up at the location, and they ask you if you have a mobile order. You say yes, and then you on the mobile app, on the Disney Experience app, you say I'm here, and then you wait until the mobile order is ready, and then they will let you in to head in. So some of those areas where you have to wait are out in the sun, so you'll be prepared for that, and just kind of strategically plan when you're saying you're going to be there. That way, your order can be ready pretty quickly once you get there. We kind of split up a little bit because RF and I wanted Ronto wraps, so we shared one. Yeah, we shared one. Yeah, that's right. So I went and got the Ronto wrap, went over to Galaxy's Edge to do that, and she took the boys into Backlot Express, which is one of my favorite locations. We'll get back to that in just a moment. What I will mention is that Star Wars Galaxy's Edge was probably one of the more crowded areas of the entire park. Right now, Hollywood Studios is one of the harder park passes to get because, there's all sorts of new stuff there, Mickey's Runaway Railway and Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, Rise of the Resistance, Toy Story Land. A lot of people are trying to get into Hollywood Studios, and it's a smaller park, so there's a little bit less capacity there as well. So keep that in mind if you're wanting to go to Hollywood Studios. Get on there early. You may have to go on an off day. We went on, normally we go on the weekends, but we went on an off day during the week in order to get there. So that's definitely something for planning purposes that you need to take into account while they're doing this park pass system. But anyway, went into Galaxy's Edge, got my Ronto wrap, did my mobile order wait thing, and they also there's kind of one of the things you need to be patient about is there's like a entrance and an exit. So like for the Ronto wraps, I showed up at one place and I had to go all the way around and come back because there's an entrance point and an exit point. So you definitely. And then it was also one way kind of through the market area that leads up to the Ronto wraps area. So you couldn't cut back through that area to get to, to kind of be undercover. It was raining a little bit, so I was trying to go that way and I couldn't. So again, something to keep in mind because you will be out in the sun a little bit more coming back. So that I went and grabbed that, went back to Backlot Express. So the boys got these Cuban sandwiches, and I believe those have been available at ABC Commissary before, but anyway, the Cuban sandwiches, the and fries. So it was a pretty big portion. It's an adult meal. It wasn't like one of the kids' meals, but we had that for them to share. It was plenty. It was good. I had a taste of it. Their fries are really good too. So that was there. There's no like in some of the places like Backlot Express, there's normally a toppings bar. There's not a toppings bar right now. They will a lot of times have, in some of the places that had toppings bars, they'll give you like little packets of toppings. So be sure to ask for those if you like to have those. And so that is something to do. That is one of the few places that has refills on your drinks, because the beverage stand is out in the open. So that is also a consideration. And they have, basically what they're doing right now is they have cast members and they'll give you a new cup. So bring your old cup, say, hey, I need a refill, and bring your new cup. There was a sign on one of them that said "Contact Johnny for access," which I thought was funny because that station was not set up, so you had to go over to the other station to get your drinks. So I thought about contacting Johnny, but it's not the case. If that give you an idea, Backlot Express has lots of like old movie props. So like if you love the Backlot tour, this is a great place to go eat. There's tons of space there, so great way to if you need distance, you can do that. When you're eating someplace, you can take off your mask and have a break. So we were like in the far back an area that we hadn't been in before, where the paint office was. And that was kind of neat. There's all sorts of little details in that place. One of the things we looked at in the paint room, there was like a list of like posters for like upcoming shows from like I don't know what year it was, but little details like that. Lots of little inside, dad joke type things that I was taking pictures of in that little office that was back there. There's a, and there on the bulletin board, there was it was like fake bulletin boards all over the place, but on the bulletin board, there was some, random pictures of paint. And then in the middle, there was like a picture of, and I didn't get a great picture of it, but there's a picture of, like the, car for the villain, and I'm blanking on his name, from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So, that was a big part of like Hollywood Studios when I was, they had all that, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and I watched that. I don't know if I'd say that that's appropriate for kids right now, or even one that I would watch, but it is a marvel in, having animated characters with live actors. If you haven't watched the Prop Culture feature on Disney Plus, I definitely recommend that for Who Framed Roger Rabbit. That's kind of an aside, but anyway, there's a picture there of that. There's lots of little, things like that are around. So I definitely recommend, checking out Backlot Express. Normally they have pretty good food. They do close a little bit early. They close at 4:00. Park closes at 8. So it's not open all the time. But we also were able to get the Wookiee cookie, which was like an oatmeal cookie with cream inside, and then it had like a chocolate Chewbacca sash on the top. So pretty big portion, decently priced, divided among us, and that was a little extra treat to our Ronto wrap and the Cuban sandwich that the boys were enjoying. As we were there, one of the cavalcades went by, the Pixar cavalcade, so I missed that, but did hear the music, and but Kenzie was able to go out and get some pictures of that. At that point, it was raining for the day, so if you're going in the summer right now, plan for rain. There's going to be normally going to be some sort of rain in the afternoon in Central Florida, especially at Disney World. So there was, and a lot of times it'll come and go and whatnot. This rain was there, and it rained quite a bit. We were able to. Backlot Express is really close to Star Tours, so we just had our stroller covered it up, and then headed into Tours. So we didn't get too wet there. Love Star Tours. I'm always reminded of the queue. It has the scene from the forest and Endor. You don't really necessarily go through that area, but sometimes they'll have meet and greets. Not right now, but with the characters that I am just not remembering the names of right now. My apologies. Someone's probably shouting at me as they're listening to this, and I will probably get back to that. But Ewoks. There you go. Anyway, Star Tours, and we went on Star Tours. We were not the Rebel Spy this time, but the way they have Star Tours set up is, again, social distancing in the queue. They've got plexiglass in between the sections, and they have it divided up. So there's a little like car seat, booster seat, if you're familiar with those, and then they have a plexiglass thing. They have the same kind of thing on Soarin'. And so there's a plexiglass thing, and then they are spacing people out. So it's like every other row that they're seating, and they're only seating, a certain number of people in each row. And there's not really like even enough people to get the ride to capacity, but they are, making sure they do that social distancing. I don't know if there's like a cleaning procedure. There weren't that many people that were there to need it. So, so for right now, it was, pretty much walk on. So one of the things, we did wait in the queue for a little bit. I take that back. We did wait in the queue for a little bit, but it wasn't that bad. And I believe that they have added some jokes to it. Either that or I just haven't waited in that queue recently. But one of the droids that's checking luggage, just hang out there if you can, because there's some pretty funny, other Disney property related jokes there, and I'll post some videos of that. But be on the lookout for that. That's kind of neat. All little like subtle things throughout Star Tours. And still an awesome experience. Star Tours is, and they keep changing it. They keep, adding different, updating it from time to time. So it's not always the same experience. Sometimes people wish it would be, have previous experiences, and sometimes they'll do that, but can't guarantee the same experience there. So I'll won't mention the area that we went to because it might not be what you're doing when you ride Star Tours. But I feel like always a good time. Then we went to Muppet Vision 3D. And Muppet Vision 3D was actually had more people in it than than normal. I think people were seeking air conditioning. It was about to rain again. So I think people were seeking some shelter there as well. But it was, socially distanced, and most of the theater type attractions, they have like, a section of seats and then not seated, and then they're seating like every other row. So you're, distanced apart from each other, and then apart from each other by the rows as well. So that was good. And they even had people in the queue area. They had that distance. They had like walls up and things like that to kind of corral people in certain areas, dots on the floor. So you had your dot that your party would stand on. We were actually up in the back. And one thing that I love about the pre-show is checking out all of this stuff that's in there. Lots of Muppet stuff, lots of jokes and things like that. And the, right back where we were, there was there was um, there were like roadie like boxes for Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem. So that was cool. There's a little cool logo that I haven't really seen much, but it was on there, and it was like scarves and bell bottoms and things like that. Just little labels on things. There's one in there for Sam Eagle that's talking about like fireworks and patriotic paraphernalia. Love that. Sam Eagle does the intro talk. If you've never done Muppet Vision 3D, I definitely recommend it. It is, the actual attraction is showing a little bit of age, but if you want some old school Muppets, that's definitely the place to go. And it's still a good time regardless. But and I'm always finding something new. Like I said, I hadn't seen that before, and I've been on that attraction many, many times. Love the Muppets. And after that, we went over to Galaxy's Edge. It was like about to storm, so we're trying to get in someplace quickly, and we did. The bathrooms in there are like as you enter Galaxy's Edge from like the Muppet area, a Grand Avenue area of Hollywood Studios is a great place. I'll also mention kind of a side bathroom area. The bathrooms that are near Rizzo's Pizza, they are quite extensive, so they're pretty big and air conditioned. So those are ones I'd recommend too for just having space. And let's see. Muppet Vision 3D, there is like a Christmas shop back there when you exit that you don't really see unless you're exiting Muppet Vision 3D. So that's another reason to go on is see those shops back there. Not open, but there is like a little snowman back there, take pictures with. Always, cool. And one thing I forgot earlier in the day, and normally we aren't like a buy merchandise at the parks type thing. We're on the lookout. We do get merchandise, so that's not the case. We do get like zippers and things like that. I don't think we got any on this trip, but we do get those from time to time. A lot of our souvenirs are like the zippers and special popcorn buckets and things like that. But from time to time, we do allow our boys to get something. A lot of times, it's when we get like a gift card from somewhere. And you have those extra funds there. It's not, so it's a treat. It's not something we're in the parks fairly often, so we're not doing that on a regular basis. But it was hot, and they had kind of forgotten their hats, so we wanted to get them hats. Let them pick out some hats. So we went to a couple places so they could see a variety of hats that were available. And one of my sons got it was like a hat that you could color on, so it had like Sorcerer, Mickey, and some other cartoons, but it was white and not filled in yet. If you ever been to on a Disney Cruise Line, like the Animators Palette restaurant, kind of think like that. So that was neat. My other son, he got the Goofy hat, so it's like a ball cap hat. But had like goofy ears and the teeth up front and the little hat on top. So he really enjoyed that. So they really love their hats. And that kind of added some fun to the experience as well. So just a little aside. But, we were heading at that point to Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run. Heading into Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. And so there was really not like a wait there. So the queue is quite long because they have it extended to at the moment for, social distancing. But you do, walk through there. I will warn, if it's raining heavily, there is like a puddle area that you kind of got to step through. Otherwise, you will get your shoes wet. And you may need to pre-warn your kids not to stomp in, or you will definitely get your shoes wet. But sometimes puddle jumping is part of the experience. So I don't discourage that if that is the case for that particular day. But anyway, all you had to do is walk through the queue. It was getting a little slick, so you have to be careful there on some of the surfaces. As people were bringing the water on their shoes, but it was pretty much walk up to the main room before you get on the Millennium Falcon. And what they're doing, they have the normal social distancing in the queue there, and they will only put your party inside the simulator at the same time. And I didn't notice exactly what they were doing for like sanitation purposes and things like that. So there is hand sanitizer going in, going out, so you can take advantage of that for sure. But they are only putting your party in there. So one of the things about Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run is like you're like, I want to be X. Normally it's the pilot. So you don't have to worry about that because you can organize that within your party. One thing that we did have is one of our sons was just at the age where he did have to have somebody either sit there we go. Excuse me. Sit beside him or behind him. So it required that at least like both adults couldn't be pilots at the same time. So that was just one part of it, but we ended up going like 3 times because it was still raining, so that queue is easy to come out the exit and then loop back around to the entrance. It kept raining, so we kept going. So line got shorter each time. So we went 3 times on Millennium Falcon. And eventually at the end, I was able to pull the lever that takes you to light speed. That area, as the pilot, is you only have like the up and the down. So the side to side, you may inflict a little bit of damage there. That's all I'll say, because I don't want to give away the attraction too much. But that is what we did. We did not get passes for Rise of the Resistance this time. Normally, we were the family that would show up super early when that was how they were doing it, and we would definitely get there to take advantage of that. It's kind of a fun experience. Right now, it's not really the thing to do, so they have changed the Rise of the Resistance boarding pass procedures. So if you're not familiar with these, they do have boarding passes, and basically you sign up for a boarding group. When your boarding group is called, you have a certain amount of time to get to go back to the ride, and normally there is still a wait because you're going through the queue. Depending on when it's called, when you get there, all that stuff. Like, I've heard of walk-ons, and then when I was going to get my Ronto wraps, there was a long wait. The ride is very complicated. I'll just say that. So a lot of times it may be down for a period of time. So they really have been limiting the boarding groups. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Prior to us being there, and I'm not sure when they changed this, they were trying to discourage people from lining up outside the park, because before it was like you got there early, they let you in a little bit early, and then as soon as it hit the park opening time, everybody was rushing on their phones to even like to the point of tips get on. Sometimes the Wi-Fi may be faster, but a lot of times your cellular phone data will be faster, because those passes are gone in like a minute. from the time frame. So you really got to pay attention. So before you went in, you reset the app to show that you were in the park, and then you did your thing. So now they do let you in the park a little bit early. Park open, when we were there, park opens 10, goes to 8. Give you an idea of the hours. And they had multiple boarding groups. So prior to when we went, they had a 10 o'clock, a 1 o'clock, and a 4 o'clock. So I think because of, the challenges of, sometimes the ride not being fully available, and with mechanical, issues and, capacity and the way that they have to do things right now, they limited that, even more, to where they changed it so that there was just a 10 o'clock and a 2 o'clock boarding group. And what I mean by that is, they gave you 2 chances to get on the app, request your boarding group, at 10 a.m. and at 2 p.m. So there was no 4 p.m., wasn't 1 p.m. They may change that back, but I think they were probably having issues with getting everybody in. So once the boarding groups are gone, they're gone. There's not like a standby line or anything like that. So sometimes you may just not get to go. So, prepare for that. If that's the only reason you're going, you got to be quick and got to be prepared. And there is a possibility you won't get on that attraction. So you really got to be prepared for that. We did not, and we're pretty adept at that. We got there a little bit later than we expected. So, we had to be patient with that because we weren't in the park by 10 a.m. You have to be in the park by 10 a.m. for the first round. And we thought we had 2 other rounds to go, but we were surprised when we didn't. So, we had just that 10 a.m. and then 2 p.m. Time frame to get that. We missed the 10 a.m. and I think there were more people on the 2 p.m. Other people had said when there were 3 different boarding group times, that there was it was easy enough to get something from the 1 o'clock or the 4 o'clock because most people are trying to get the 10 o'clock because it kind of goes through the day. And we weren't kind of worried about the 10 a.m. because we were going to be there most of the day. So we're like, well, if we don't get the 1 o'clock, we'll get the 4 o'clock. But there was only the 2 p.m. And I think a lot more people were pushed to that because they either didn't get the 10 a.m. or because they couldn't get the 4 p.m. Then everybody was kind of crowded around that 2 p.m. time frame. And they were gone before we could get them. And we just didn't get a chance to ride it. So it is an awesome attraction. Definitely recommend trying to ride it. But again, don't set your expectations that you're definitely getting on it because there is a great possibility that you may not. And if you do want to do it, make sure you're in the park for that early one. So that way you have a second chance, but you may not make it. Depending on how the ride is functioning at the time, it's possible that you may not get on either. So there's a lot of what ifs involved with that. So keep that in mind. So after Millennium Falcon, we headed over to Toy Story Land, making our loop around the park. It was still a little bit rainy. Slinky Dog was not operational at the time. So we rode, but there was walk on for Midway Mania, which that's a little bit longer queue too. So keep that in mind. There are steps that you're climbing as well. I mean, there's accessible places too, but it was like between Smugglers Run, which has a lot of ramps and things like that, and then steps afterward, depending on which area you get on. But there were definitely some elevation changes and long queues to walk through to get there. So we rode Midway Mania twice because it was pretty much again a walk on, and I will note that there is not a way, at least not from the cast member that we asked, not a way to get back on Midway Mania for a second time staying inside. There's a long walkway after you get off of Midway Mania to get back to the front. And then you got to walk around and get back in the line. If it's raining or something like that, which it was, that can be a longer experience. I did notice, and this may not be the case when you go, but like there's like bamboo and things like that along that walkway. And they, if you stay to the right, it seemed like that was a place that people weren't getting quite as wet. So pro tip there, maybe, might change, who knows. But that was the case. Again, Slinky Dog was down, Alien Swirling Saucers was there. We decided not to go on that for a couple of reasons, and then one of the reasons being that our dinner reservation was coming up. So we had a dinner reservation. Again, park closed at 8. I think our dinner reservation was at like 7:20. So it was, finishing out the day for our dinner reservation, so that we take a long time to eat. So we didn't want to have that take away from our park time. So that's why we planned that. And we had a dinner reservation at the Sci-Fi Dine-In, Drive-In. May not be getting that right. I think it's Sci-Fi Dine-In, Drive-In. I don't know. Cafe. I think it's Sci-Fi Dine-In Cafe. One of those may be right. If not, someone might be telling me that. But anyway, what I call the Sci-Fi Diner, but that's not the correct. I know that's not the correct term. Some things to note, like ABC Commissary was closed. A lot of the other, I think that was the main big quick service that was closed. But Sci-Fi Diner is adjacent to that, and that was open. That is a reservations, table service, table service restaurant. So you do need reservations for that. We hadn't been in a while. We took some time to get, since the park was gonna close, and this is a pro tip too. Just because they let you stay in the park does not mean things are open. So like a lot of the popcorn stands and things like that had closed. We went to the last one that was open that we saw to get a refill for our popcorn bucket, because we like to have some popcorn to take home with us, because it is that good. And got our popcorn refill. One thing I'll mention is fuel rods. If you are using fuel rods, which is just the battery power pack, the main area that they had those, there's a shop to the right as you come in. And I love these shops, and I love the names of them, and I just can't remember the name of it. Might be Mickey's Five and Dime, but I think that's on the other side. But anyway, whatever that shop is on the right is where the fuel rod station is. And some of them might not be accessible right now, with different shops being closed, so keep that in mind. So change them when you come into the park, if you have old ones that aren't charged. One thing about fuel rods too, so up till this point, and you pay $30 to get the fuel rod, which seems like a lot sometimes, but it's infinite exchanges of that fuel rod at the different stations around the park. So it's really convenient to be able to just exchange those, get a fresh one. You don't have to charge it, and then be able to charge your phone. The first one you buy comes with a kit. If for some reason you lose that, I've been pretty, like if I've lost the cords while I'm in the park, I've called the number that's on the machine, and they have the ability remotely to drop you an additional one. Or if you ever have any problems with those machines, like if it takes it and doesn't give you one back, you can call that number, and they're pretty awesome customer service. They'll drop you a new one or a new kit. They'll ask you what you need. So I've been pretty pleased with it. They did make an attempt to start saying that exchanges are going to cost a certain amount at one point. That quickly went away as people were very upset about that. But I think they are about to try to re-implement that in some way. There is a program that you can sign up for. I think it's like the Fuel Rod Founders Club. So check that out on their website. If you started with Fuel Rod and had them kind of early on or right now, you can sign up for that, and then it allows you to not I assume it allows you not to have to pay when they implement anything that's purchased past this point. Requires a cost. I don't know what they're going to do. They don't have it implemented yet, so I would definitely sign up for that. I think there's a limited time. I don't know what the limited time is to get signed up for that, but if you do use fuel rods, I definitely recommend checking that out, so you're not surprised when you come into the park and there's a fee again, and there was that program and then you missed it. And definitely something I could have missed too. And it seems to be tied to your email address, I think. Might be wrong on that, but check out the details on the website. But definitely recommend fuel rods. They also are in other places like airports and things like that. But mainly in the parks where we use them. And you might need a couple of them because, like, for me, for my phone, it only gets to like 25% charge, so I might need a couple of refills to, normally gets me through the day. My wife's phone, it gets it to like 40 to 50, sometimes 70%, depending. So, yeah, might need multiple ones. Anyway, back to Sci-Fi Diner. This is kind of a neat space. It's in an indoor. If you've never seen it, it's an indoor like drive-in movie, and they have little cars that are set up as tables. So you have like a booth where there's like 3 booth seats that are like a 2-person each section. There's also ones if you don't like that setting, or if like you have kids and need a certain setting, there are some tables that are arranged where you can still see, but it's set up, big screen, and they're playing like old school movie clips, a lot of like, concession stands like popcorn and things like that. There's even like a clip with Walt Disney where he introduces a little short around pondering the idea of life on other planets, a lot of that type stuff. Some of it's a little, like, I would say, cringe-worthy, maybe, probably goes over kids' heads, but I'm like, older movie type stuff. So I will mention that. It didn't seem to be a problem for, like, my kids, but, just as a parental warning there, I guess. There are restrooms in there, but it's just a cool setting. It's a little bit darker in there, so if you don't like the darkness or have problems with like eating in the dark, or that is sometimes a problem. There's lighting on the tables, but it is if you're wanting to take pictures of your food, I'll say that I think this is a good example of how the lighting, you're not going to get a good Instagram picture in that area. It's enough to see your food because it has like a little like rope light that's right underneath your table area. Sometimes the table area in the booths can be a little bit crowded, depending on what you get as well. So I will mention that, but they will take stuff away for you. You can ask for other smaller plates and things like that to divide things out. They were really good about dividing food, And all of the food there is pretty. Normally, they have kind of some standard park type food if you want that. But normally they have very interesting and very good food. Like, it's not necessarily what you would expect from a place like that. Like, I genuinely like the food there. So, pro tip on the food, my boys like certain things. You can get like the normal like Disney kids meals if you're familiar with those. A lot of times it'll be like an entree, kids portion type entree, so it's not going to be like the same as the adult portion. A lot of times, sometimes it's surprising how big the portion is, and then they'll have like a snack. So like a lot of times that's like, depending on where you are, like it could be like grapes, and like sometimes it could be fries, or depending on what meal you're at, it might be for like breakfast, it might be yogurt. But normally like 2 snacks, and then there's a drink included. So that is, normally it runs like $10 to $15, depending on where you are, what restaurant you're in. Might be more, might be a little less. But there are some items on there that are a super great value. And our boys love and this is available in a lot of places, the chicken noodle soup, which doesn't sound like something that everybody would love. It's not like a Campbell's chicken noodle soup, so it's has like some veggies in it, different noodles. So if your kids are very particular about like having Campbell's chicken noodle soup, it's not that. It's a little bit fancier, but it's $3 for like a pretty good sized bowl. And our kids love that, so that's what they get. So $3. It doesn't come with the. It's not a meal, so it's on the a la carte piece. So it doesn't come with like the sides and things like that it normally would. But it's $3, so it's not bad at all. And we got one of my sons. We got a side salad because he wanted croutons. We found out later that he just wanted the croutons. So next time he's going to get, but he like inhaled the soup and then wanted more. So next time he's getting 2 soups instead of a soup and a salad. But my other son had his soup as well, and they love it. So recommend that, the chicken noodle soup. There's another, I think there's an item, maybe 1 or 2 items. Well, I think the side salad was one of the other things, but there might be other items on there too. So check that out. Just kind of think about what you're doing when you're ordering that, because you can save a few bucks there. But if you're getting the other meals and that's what you want to do, more power to you for sure. And that's probably not a good value if you're using the dining plan. Right now there's not dining plans, so it doesn't really matter. But keep that in mind. No dining plans right now. If you like the dining plans. So what we got is they had we got the wedge salad, which we had that divided, and it was like pretty decent portions, like a quarter wedge, I guess an eighth of a wedge, I'd say, of iceberg lettuce. Good. Again, this place like is surprising how intricate the food is, and it's not like drive-in movie. So if you're thinking that's the food you're gonna get, it's not. It's like, it's good food. It's like sometimes really fancy food, fancier food than other fancy places sometimes. But the wedge salad was delicious. They divided it up for us and gave us each our own plate. So we shared that, and we also shared the special they had. They have a few different burgers and other things. We shared the Southern burger, which had a fried green tomato and pimento cheese and some other things on it. It was really good. And one of the things about them too is that you're not getting like what I would call a standard Disney burger. I haven't had a standard Disney burger in a while. So they may have improved upon them, but these are like, it tastes like they like made the patty type burger. I don't know exactly how to describe that flavor, but fresh, like fresher type stuff. They divided that too and gave us our own portion that came with fries, like steak fries. They also had fried pickles. That was a deal. It was one of the appetizers, and it was like a whole, like the little cone shaped things with, that they put fries in, that has like the wax paper and the down inside. Comes with a couple dipping sauces. The dipping sauces are excellent. I definitely recommend the fried pickles. Good portion. We were eating them throughout our meal because, it wasn't like just eating them for the appetizer. So that was a good deal. Again, they have, it kind of changes from time to time what they have, but, like one of the things I remember on one of my Disney trips, like with my family, so we went there and I was introduced to avocados. There was like a wrap that had like avocados on it, which I had never had before, but it was good. So it kind of introduces people to new things. Again, there are like, basic things if your kids need basic things, or if you need basic things, that's totally fine too. I'm a little more foodie on that side, so I like, interesting food, but if that's not you, no judgment there. But the entrees are a little more pricey, so it's not like going to like a quick service. So like but I mean, they are better entrees, it seems, as well. So they're more in like the $20-something range as opposed to the $13 to $15 range that you normally see for like a entree. But again, it did come with the fries and had the dipping sauces for the pickles for the appetizer. That was really, really good. We were, that filled us up for sure. And we were celebrating a birthday. So we asked, if there was anything specific. And we had put it in on the app because it asks you, like, are you celebrating something? And be sure to just tell them again, even though you put it in the app. Don't be like, okay, I'm waiting for my birthday. Don't know, because it may not come. So just remind them again, when you're, when they show up at your table, that you are celebrating something, so that way they remember it. And they brought us like a big bowl of ice cream to share with like Mickey sprinkles and hot fudge, and I think it's more than like the normal birthday portion, but they brought it for us to share. And when they saw it was, this was like a Disney magic moment here. When they saw that it was awkward because we were in one of the booth cars, and our sons were in the front, when it was awkward for us to try to share the ice cream amongst the four of us. He brought them their own cups individually of ice cream as well. And he also took time to notice that they loved the cherries on top. So they each got a couple cherries in their individual cups. So they were definitely on it there in terms of observation and stuff. So that was pretty cool. Definitely a Disney magic moment. I ate way too much ice cream because I felt like I needed to finish some of it. I didn't really, so I'll keep that in mind next time. But it was delicious. It was really good ice cream. Not all ice cream I've had at Disney parks measured up to that ice cream for sure, and it was really good. And there's a lot of good ice cream. Don't get me wrong. So don't be afraid to get ice cream there. But it's more on like if you go to like a catered event or something like that. Sometimes that can be hit or miss. But the ice cream there was delicious, and I've had lots of other delicious ice cream as well. So anyway, so that was great. had a little Mickey sprinkles, and they didn't rush us because we did have a 7:20 reservation. Like I said, it does take us time to eat. We There were other families that were in there too, so it was past park closing of 8 o'clock by the time we got done. They didn't rush us at all. They did come over and ask us if we were riding Disney transportation. So if you ever are in a late reservation, this we have we did this again at Magic Kingdom previously. They will come and make sure that there's you have transportation before the transportation shuts down, because it only runs up to a certain amount of time after the park closing. So they're really good about that, making sure that you can get somewhere. The Skyliner was still running. I don't know the hours for that. Don't know if I couldn't tell if people were actually on it, or if it was just running. This time we were not the only people who were heading out later from the areas, but when we were heading out, there was we were among the handful of people that were still in the park. So as we headed out, we stopped to take some pictures at Chinese theater, and just making our way out. And we didn't end up being the last people in Hollywood Studios for that night. So, we did drive, so it wasn't, the transportation wasn't an issue. But if you do close out a park, you probably will have a bus, as opposed to sometimes the Skyliner might not be running, monorails might not be running, boats may not be running at that point. Depending on what park you're at. And right now the Epcot monorail is not running to the Ticket and Transportation Center either. So something to keep in mind. But anyway, that is, so we, again, just took our time making our way, took some videos, as many times as I've done it, I always like to take a video of Pluto with his wagging tail. I feel like Hollywood Studios at night, Christmas time especially, but in general, just all the shops are lit up, and it is different lighting for the Chinese theater now that Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, the marquee sign is there, because it's pretty bright. So you got to adjust for that if you're taking a picture. But take a picture of Pluto. I love the spinning globe that Mickey's sitting on top of at the front of the park. So I took some videos of that. Took some videos of our boys walking down the main street there, and then got some pictures of them as they finished out the day, again in their cool hats. And by the time we got to the parking lot, we didn't need to remember where we had parked, because there were only a few cars out there. But it was an easy walk there. I kind of like there are some areas I wish were still opened up, but I kind of like how they've reconfigured things for the exit. You don't have to walk around quite as much to get to the parking lot, especially if you're parked on the one side there. Anyway, but that was good, and that area is spread out more. In general, all of the areas are spread out more, so while they weren't preparing for that for this time, it is helpful because they have spread out a lot of the security areas and the exit areas, and everybody's not kind of funneling to one spot quite as much. So there's plenty of area for distancing. So with that, that is the end of our tour of Hollywood Studios. We had a wonderful time. We tried to, we maxed out the day as much as we could. We took time to rest. We took time to enjoy. We spent quite a bit of time in Backlot Express, and a little bit of time in that Relaxation Station again in Launch Bay, and just doing things like Muppet Vision 3D, and definitely recharged us for things like walking through the queue of Millennium Falcon Smugglers run and Midway Mania multiple times. So, that's one of the cool things about right now. It's like there's fairly low crowds, fairly low wait times. Even for the things that have wait times, there's no fast passes right now. The only really kind of like fast pass is the boarding groups for Rise of the Resistance. But, I'm not really missing them because you get a chance to see like the queues and you didn't see before because fast pass goes straight to the ride. So seeing some of that, just taking some time to do that. And it's not really like super long. It's just like spread out. So it may look longer than it is. But again, being patient, while they sanitize the ride vehicles and, not getting your expectations up super high on certain things and just taking things as they go, taking experiences as they go. That is the key, I think, to having an enjoyable time in the parks. You got to rest a little bit. You do have to wear the masks, but I think all of that's worth it to have this experience in the park where again, slow, low crowds. It's you can ride a lot of attractions in one day where you may not have been able to before, even with lower park hours. I think it's good. Like, for Hollywood Studios, I think they normally open like 8 or 9 o'clock, and closed at 8 to 9 o'clock anyway, typically. So it's not like super low hours there. Animal Kingdom has reduced their hours. Magic Kingdom has reduced the hours. I think that's where it's most noticeable because Magic Kingdom's normally fairly long park day. They're closing at 7, but so it's weird to leave the Magic Kingdom when it's still light outside. But overall, our experiences, we've been to all 4 parks now, at least once on this pass system. Again, make sure you plan for that. If you are coming for a vacation where you're staying there, you are not guaranteed a park pass. So make sure you have those. Even if you get tickets, you are not guaranteed a park pass. So make sure if you're working with a travel agent, work with them. If you're planning on your own, just make sure that you understand the system. Make sure you understand what you can and can't do. A lot of the resorts are not available right now, and they're kind of opening up as we go here. So you got to understand those pieces of things, and park hopping. So if that's the thing, you got to understand that. So again, a lot of considerations to take into place. A lot of things that aren't there. There's no fireworks. There's no big shows because they want to have people gather. There's no character greets, but they've really done a great job, with the cavalcades and little areas where they might have I didn't see it while I was there. So again, I didn't have the expectation that I would, but like Chewbacca being up, in an area where people can see him, but he's not necessarily down there with the crowds. The stormtroopers aren't there, and Galaxy's Edge, but it's still an awesome experience. It's a different experience, but it's an awesome experience. We had a great time and enjoyed ourselves. So that's, kind of the take that I have on it. It's different. If you're expecting all the same things, you're going to be disappointed. But if you can adjust your expectations and appreciate some of the things that are there and kind of current ways of how things are, it's a really fun time. Really great experience. Definitely recommend it for families. Felt definitely safe and everything. You do have to kind of police yourself in some areas. If you want to stay away from people and whatnot, make sure you're washing your hands and bring that type of thing. But it's again a wonderful experience. I've really enjoyed it in all the parks. that we've been in, and gives the opportunity to again take a little break here and there where we may not have otherwise. Yeah, I've really enjoyed our experiences, and I think I've said that a few times now, so I'll go ahead and wrap it up. So this again for the Dads of Adventure podcast. You can find us at dadsofadventure.com, where you can sign up for the membership, talk to other Disney dads. Just released an episode of one of the Disney dads that I got to talk to, the Disney Rad dads, so check that out. We'll have more of those interviews kind of interspersed as we go here. Sometimes it'll be just me. Just released one for Epcot and Magic Kingdom with my sons, which was very interesting. So you'll find that, I think you'll find that funny. It's very interesting to hear the audio, so definitely listen to that. But it's also cool to see the video and their excitement about everything going on. So anyway, that was an aside there. But talk to other Disney dads like me, and like the Disney Rad dad, get lots of great Disney tips, which again are being worked on right now. As things change, we'll try to adjust those so you can be prepared and have a positive experience in the parks. You can find us on at Dads of Adventure on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, as well as if you're listening to this podcast, it is available in video format on YouTube at the DreamsMagicAdventure YouTube channel. Please subscribe there if you're watching. And again, you can find us on all of your favorite podcast apps. And please rate and review us there and subscribe. We look forward to more that we're doing here. Again, just a plug for Funding Love. Check out the shirts there, help support that cause. And I think that about wraps things up. So I'll go ahead and end it how we normally end it, with saying, go have an adventure with your family.
Good night.